Tonight on Lori and Cher, girls just want to have fun. But does having fun equal fun? Not so, according to tonight's guest. No, that's totally messed up. But does having fun equal no fun? Not so, according to tonight's guest. Stay tuned as we hack into the secrets of having debt-free financial future. Welcome to the Lori and Cher Show, Hacking into Awesome. I'm Lori Williamson.
And I'm Cher Jones.
And if you don't know, Cher and I are cousins, and we host this weekly Google Plus Hangout where we talk to absolutely amazing people and literally hack in to what makes them awesome.
That's right, and I am super excited for tonight's guest, but we want to thank everybody who's been getting social with us because you guys have been awesome, and of course, make sure I want to say hi to all the new subscribers on YouTube and over on Facebook, showing us love over there and interacting every day. You guys are awesome, and of course, if you're new to the Lori and Cher Show, you can always find us at Lori and Cher, pretty much every social media site. We are very active, and we've got our awesome associate producer on the Twitters handling all your questions. And of course, if you're watching this from the Google Plus page, the Google Plus event page, you can actually ask questions to us live and we will make sure that we get to them, whether you're going from Twitter using hashtag Lori and Cher or hitting us up at Lori and Cher. We're going to get to you. So we want to make sure you take on your questions tonight because Christmas is coming. It is just around the corner and you got to start thinking about how you're going to spend your money.
Cher, I think that is so true. Talk about, like, we just started the show, and I made a major flub right off the top, and when we were in the green room, we were talking about, oh, it's a live show, and you have to be on point, and here I am reading the copy, and I can't even get through it, so I apologize for that.
Don't apologize for being awesome, because you know what? It is what it is, and we're going to keep it moving, and that's what it is.
All right. Well, tonight, you know what? I love, love, love the title of this show. It's inspired by, obviously, it's really just ripped off from this awesome blog called Girls Just Want to Have Funs, which, I mean, I love that song, first of all, but I just think this is such a catchy little title. And we have the creator, the curator of the blog, Ginger Latte, who will be on the show tonight, and we'll be tackling personal finances. We're learning how to make it, to save it, to grow it. Ladies, it's for you, but it's also for you, gents, so make sure you guys tune in. But first of all, I'd like to welcome Ginger Latte to the Lori and Cher Show.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So I'm going to kick things off, and the one thing I want to say is, Cher, you alluded to it just a while ago, and it's the fact that Christmas is around the corner, or the holidays, let's say. How is everyone feeling about that? Because I've noticed a massive change in the weather in Toronto. So I'd love to know what everyone thinks, the fact that it's just literally months away.
Ginger, what about you? Months away, Christmas just around the corner.
Well, I can't believe it because it feels like 2004 just got here, and already we're in September. I think it was in July when we started talking about back to school. I thought, let the summer be over first before we talk about back to school. I started to get emails about Thanksgiving, and it just feels like the year is just going by so quickly. So, I mean, the holidays are definitely around the corner, so it's time to think about how we're going to handle it financially for sure.
Absolutely. Cher, what about you? Because I'll tell you, I haven't gone to Costco. You and I usually like to go to Costco together, but I have seen people tweet photos where Costco fully has, like, their Christmas cards. They have, and I'm going to call it Christmas because that's what Cher and I celebrate, so I'm not going to say holiday like it's, you know, the political correct way. But, yeah, like the snowmen are out, the reindeer, the lights. I mean, and that was out since, like, August. So, I mean, that's just in your face. It's like time to prepare. What do you think, Cher?
It's like not even time to prepare. What the stores are telling you is it's time to spend. And with this cold weather just ushering through this spending spirit, it's actually pretty scary. I saw 2 news reports. I saw these random places getting snow. I mean, Calgary in Canada, they got snow, which we were saying, well, it's Canada, but it's also the beginning of September, and they got snow. And then somewhere where they shouldn't have snow in the States, they got snow. And that is insane. So that stuff scares me. But then when you start to think of snow and Christmas and lights and holidays and Thanksgiving, it is, you can't help but look at your bank account balance and saying, okay, well, I'm going to be better this year. I'm gonna be better this year, but you know, we got to have the strategies in place in order to be better this year. So this stuff is just crazy to me.
For sure. Okay, let's jump into tonight's show. First of all, I have to say, Ginger Latte, like that's the coolest name ever. Can we just say how did you get that name?
Well, you can thank Starbucks because that's just really my addiction to ginger lattes, which they often have in the fall. So when I was really addicted to coffee.
Well, Cher is a fan of Starbucks. Have you ever tried that one, Cher?
No, I don't know if it's the same one because mine is the pumpkin spice latte, the PSL, hashtag PSL. I know all my Starbuckers out there know exactly what we're talking about because Starbucks wants us to tweet about it, and guess what? I joined in the club. I've been tweeting about it, and yeah, I love me some fall flavored lattes. But it's funny when we think about that. You know, you think about the latte factor, and that's one of my biggest. You know, it's not Starbucks, it's $5, and it's just like those are the things that we have to keep in mind. So. It's just that's what it is. But I can't help it. That's one of my vices.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. That and Diet Coke for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I love me some Diet Coke. It's in a bad way. I'm trying to wean myself off of it. Now it's only at restaurants, and I'm trying to kick the restaurant habit, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
And I will say this about Cher and the Starbucks thing since we're on it. Cher, if she goes into a Starbucks and she doesn't get her blondie because it's after a certain time, Cher is not a happy bear, okay? Let me just say that.
I like the blonde roast coffee, right? Because I can't always buy a latte because, again, that's $5 versus $2 and change, right? So there's a big difference. The latte I treat as a treat. So when I go in there and it's a little later and they tell me I can't have my blonde because it's after 6 and they don't brew the blonde after 6, I do get a little bit upset. Thanks for calling that out, Lori.
Well, I've been there too many times with you to hear, you know, your upsettedness. Anyways, back to Ginger. Ginger, yeah. Okay, so I love that song. I love that Cyndi Lauper song, and like I think it just. How did you even come up with this name?
Actually, there's actually a book on Amazon.com called "Girls Just Want to Have Fun," and while I was in college, I actually read the book because I wanted to learn more about women and money. And just what were some of the things I was missing in terms of finances, because I was about to graduate college in about a year or so. And it was just incredibly helpful, and the name just stuck with me. I was a resident assistant, and so I used the name, you know, for my group meetings that I had with my residents in the hall. And it just took off from there. I started the website once I left college.
So what was it about what you were reading that made you say, listen, I want to actually learn more about this, and I'm going to, you know, I guess chronicle your journey on this website, give other women advice, inspire other women, or empower other women, you know, when it comes to their financial future, financial success?
The author of the book, she did a really good job of breaking everything down. I mean, there are other books out there that are written by Kiplinger, even Susie Orman, and to me it was just a laser analysis of just finances, like budgets, but it was just boring. There wasn't a way at the time, there weren't books out there at the time that made it relatable. I didn't want them to talk about it in terms of lipsticks and shopping, and all women want to do is shop, but I wanted them to break it down in terms of why it's important for me as a woman to know about finances. So for instance, giving up the power to our husbands or our boyfriends or our partners with controlling our budget or our purse. Why is it important for me to realize that at some point I'm probably going to stop working to have children, why it's important to have a retirement account that continues to build during that time? What if I get divorced? And so the book was able to break stocks, bonds, dividends down in a way that I was able to understand, because I'm not a finance buff by any means, and so it was good for me to be able to see that in a way that was relatable to me.
That's what I love about your blog is it's not coming from that. It's coming from a real place. You know what I mean? It's coming from a place where everyday women are saying, "Yeah, I get what you're blogging about. I get the advice and just the conversations that you're having online with these groups and these women who are going to your blog daily looking for that kind of advice and that kind of conversation. It's that conversation around finances and that conversation around debt that just needs to happen more and more. So you're doing a fantastic job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so one thing that we want to really clear up is we want to make sure that everyone understands that you are not a financial expert.
No, no. That's something that we all, just as financial bloggers, unless we're like CPAs or CFPs, I'm not a financial expert. So any information that I share today is just purely based on my own experience. And, you know, you should always use your own judgment, consult with a financial planner to decide whether or not any strategy that you want to take is good for you and your financial situation.
Okay, perfect. So got that. So you just, but you, I mean, have a wealth of knowledge because you obviously, you know, read all these books and stuff like that. Are there sources or places that you go to this day that, you know, to get that information?
I think for me personally, understanding my emotional relationship with money. Of course, I'm a psychotherapist by day, right? So one book that's been extremely helpful for me is Emotional Currency, and that discusses the emotional relationship that we as women have with money, which is something that we don't ever talk about when we talk about money or budgeting or retirement. We just talk about what are some tips that we can save money, you know, plan for retirement, but it's never in a way that's relatable. And again, for me, after Girls Just Want to Have Fun's the book by Susanna Goodman, Emotional Currency, that was another book that I read that I continue to go back to that pretty much helps me get in alignment with my financial goals. Another book is Smart Woman Finish Rich, and that's another book. It really, again, it talks about what we as women need in order to be successful with our finances, and more importantly, why. I think a lot of the advice out there is really just the same regurgitated advice, and I think women need advice that's relatable to them, to men. Well, to them, I'm sorry, because a man will not, well, they might, but they rarely will have to take time off to raise a child, especially if you have more than one child. It's often the woman that's looked to take care of an aging parent. She takes time off of work to do that. And so it's important for us to understand when we off-ramp with our careers, what that means for our future.
So talk to us about your story, because I mean, you've been featured, your blog's been featured, you've been featured, you know, in the media, and you also have, you know, a story to share with regards to your finances and how you really took charge. So share with us that story.
Well, there's two parts to it. So in college, I wanted to learn more about money. I also watched my mom struggle with it a little bit after my father passed away. And so one of the things that she definitely taught me was that you can't really wait around for a man to, you know, essentially be your Prince Charming. And while my father was everything, meaning that he was there financially, emotionally, in every way, once he passed away, she realized that, you know, it was good that she had an emergency fund. She lost her job a few years after he passed away, so she was able to keep us afloat for 2 years until she got another job. And that's when I understood the importance of saving money. Got married, eventually got divorced, so that was a huge money lesson for me because I realized that financial independence it's everything. I mean, when you're divorced, you sort of have to plan all over again. And so you have to, you know, disentangle finances. You have to now plan for retirement on your own until, you know, if you get married again. And so my money story is really one of navigating life's financial curveballs while just knowing how to get to keep the goal in mind instead of just sort of getting off and staying off and just hoping that I get back on again.
So, sorry, Cher, go ahead.
It's interesting. I like your terminology as far as life's financial curveballs, and those are real, and those are things that people don't want to admit that may happen. And I definitely see that importance of sitting there and thinking about that and actually preparing for that mentally. And we never know when you're going to lose a job. You never know when you're going to lose a spouse either through death or through divorce or whatever the case may be, through mental illness or anything like that. And it's really interesting that if we're not prepared for it, and if we're not consciously taking steps and actions, that we could be sitting there in financial ruin because of it. And it's really important, and I love how that's just coming through in your messaging.
Thank you. Thank you.
But one other thing also, I think that when it comes to people and their finances, their money is, I don't know whether it's people always trying to keep up with the Joneses, but there seems to be quite a lot.
What's wrong with keeping up with the Joneses? Half your family's a Jones. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Not those Joneses, but
yeah, right.
But there seems to be so much shame when it comes to money. If you're not doing well, if you are struggling, you always have to appear like, I don't know how many stories you see of men, in particular, sometimes are driving like this great amazing car, they have the latest Mercedes with the rims, but then if you went to their house, it's like they're living, at their mom's house in the basement. Or when it comes to women, they'll like kill themselves to get their hair done, have red bottom shoes, have the latest handbag, but really like they don't have anything back home to show for it. They're like, struggling. Why do you think there is so much shame when it comes to, your financial situation, and why everyone has to kind of always come out and make it seem like they're always in a better position than they really actually are?
Because I think we would rather, if we look at the psychology of money, who wants to show the underbelly of their finances? We don't even talk about our salaries with coworkers and friends or even our parents. And so why would we want to tell people that, hey, I'm actually broke, in debt, and I probably don't know where I'm going to get my next meal from, but I'm going to show you that I bought these red bottoms, and I'm going to show you that I drive this nice car. I'm going to show you that I'm doing all these things to make you think that I'm successful on the surface, when really I'm not doing that well. And so because there's a lot of shame in talking about money, I think that's where it comes from. We'd rather not plan for it. We'd rather not talk about it. We would actually just pretend that we have it rather than to actually just be honest about where we are.
And also, in addition to that, I feel like sometimes it's like, you kind of turn a blind eye to what the situation is that you're facing. Maybe it's because you don't know how to get out of the situation, and you're just like, as long as I don't know the reality of the numbers, maybe it's how much you're in debt, what you owe in other areas of your life, whatever it comes to when it comes to money. It's like sometimes playing the blind, literally covering up and just walking around with blinders on, maybe it just feels better, or it's just like too much stress for people to handle, I think, as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I've certainly been there. I mean, I went through a period after my divorce where I just didn't really care what I spent. I didn't care sort of what my debt amount was. And I think at different points people may go through that, but I think once you finally get out of that space and you're able to sort of assess where you are and create a plan, then you're okay. But I think to constantly go through that space where you're just like spending money, you're in debt, you don't really know where you're going, you don't really know how you got here, it's just never healthy. You know what I mean? So.
No, absolutely. You said something that is very key. You said the word plan. I was talking to my dad today, and we were talking about, some financial things, and he says, and I was trying to convince him of something, and he's like, you know what, you always are a planner, and that naturally is what I am. I think you have to have a plan, and I feel very uncomfortable when I don't have a plan for a bunch of things in my life. It just feels like I'm not going anywhere. But I'm going to talk to you about that in a minute, but one of the things that I think is key is, you are talking about divorce, and, relationships. We know that money sometimes is the root to a lot of people breaking up, and it just because of the stress, because money is probably one of the biggest stresses that we have in life. What are your opinions on, I hear all the time, like, a woman having her own separate bank account in a marriage in order to prepare for, in the event that something like a divorce were to happen, and it's about financial empowerment, and it's like when you're a team with somebody, and you have joint finances and it's pooled together, it's one thing, it's naturally easier. But then it's like, as a woman and, even as a man, it's like, what happens if there is a breakdown in the marriage, and how do you kind of survive that afterwards?
That's a tricky question. And I think it's one of those questions where it's like, you sort of have to know the relationship that you're in. I'll never tell someone, who's in a really shaky marriage where divorce is, impending, where, the relationship's about to come to an end, and you have entangled finances, like, for instance, if you share a lease together, you share bank accounts, things like that, and you know that it's going to end at some point, I don't blame you if you stash some money away to make sure that if this relationship comes to an end, I'm going to land on all four. I'm going to land on 2 feet. I wouldn't say on all 4 feet, but no, land on 2 feet. I don't have a problem with that. But I think and again, it's like to thine own self be true. If you know that you're in a crappy relationship and that it could end, plan for the worst. But then think about it. In life, it happens. Life happens. Whether it's an emergency fund for your car, your kids got sick, your brother needs money, whatever it is, I think woman or man, you should have an emergency fund. You should have money that's stashed away for a rainy day. So whether it's my man left me and I don't have any money, or it's, we're getting a divorce and I need the money to file the papers, whatever you need to do. Now, if you're in a pretty good relationship and you have open communication and trust and all that good foundational stuff, then you have to ask yourself, why is it that you're planning for the demise of your relationship, right? And so if you're doing that, then there are deeper emotional issues at hand here. But to thine own self be true. If you know that your relationship is about to go down the tubes or that you suspect something, by all means do it. But just as a general rule, I think we all need money that is our own, and that if something happens, then that money is available to you. I think the tricky part is whether or not you tell your partner that you have the money, and they need to be okay with that. Because here's the deal. They should trust you enough to know that, hey, we're never going to need that because our relationship will always be fine, and I'll do what I need to do to make sure that the relationship stays intact so that you'll never need that stash of cash.
Sounds like good advice to me. I mean, I hear people say, when it comes to being in a relationship or marriage, it's always best for there to be like at least 3 bank accounts. Each person has their own bank account and then a joint bank account where it's like that's put in for savings as a joint couple, pay the bills, and then, whatever other miscellaneous accounts that just allows like, togetherness but also independence. But I'm sure people have different, feelings on that. Cher, what do you think on that?
Well, I think it's really important as far as for wanting a relationship to last and that communication side of things. Like I'm married, and for transparency's sake, it's really important for us anyways, having that joint account. But then we also have separate accounts, but everything kind of gets funneled through the joint account and then back out into the single account. So we know what's going on with the main sources of money right now, especially when I was working in a full-time job as opposed to now being an entrepreneur where it's a little bit different. So it's a little bit dicey, but I find that even it causes not necessarily doubt or anything like that, just questions, and I really enjoy the transparency model. So we ensure that together we're communicating and we know what's coming in, and we still need to improve that. So, but I think I think that when there's that I don't know, especially when it's your main cash flow coming in, it should come in, and then you share that, you pay the mortgages and stuff, you pay the mortgage and whatever, and whatever notes you may have, and then after that, you should have your own funds to do with what you want. So, but true. You said something, to thy own self be true, and I think that's really important as well as far as knowing individual relationships. This is not like a recipe for relationships. This is just works for us, and it's, I think the important part out of all of this is transparency.
Yeah, I think I'd never advocate lying or hiding bank accounts from your partner, but the other side of it is that there are some women out there that are in financial situations who have to do that. And so, I mean, I even got into it with one commenter on the site who said, well, you're advocating lies and, of course, the demise of a relationship. And, of course, if the woman's already in a situation where the man is doling out $10 for deodorant if she behaves well, she's going to need to plan for her exit, because no one should have to live that way. And so in that sort of a situation where, if she doesn't put the toilet paper on, upright or something like that, then she doesn't get money for deodorant or groceries, I'd be telling her stash your cash as fast as you can and get out.
Exactly.
But again, if the other side of that is if you're in a pretty open, again, like you mentioned, transparent relationship where the foundations are great, then by all means, if you want to have the stash, go ahead. But then know that you should probably talk to your spouse about it, which should engender another conversation about trust and, why do you feel you need that? As long as everything's out in the open, it's fine. But again, I don't want to be textbook and say, no, you should never do that. Every situation is different.
And if you guys are watching this live, make sure that you join the conversation by either tweeting at us, or we have our open Q&A app, so make sure if you have a question or a comment, we'd love to hear from you. So keep them coming. I know Adriel's out there tweeting away, so we appreciate that. And in the meantime, let's get back to this awesome conversation.
Cool. All right, so, one of the things that you've also done is created like a money group.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain how that works? Because I think it's really cool, and I think it's something that other people can really think about creating in their own cities. Can you explain what a money group is, and then we'll go from there?
So what the money group is, well, Girls Just Want to Have Fun started actually on meetup.com. And so we've grown over the years to about 500 ladies here in the DC area.
Wow.
And
congratulations on that.
Thanks. And what it is we get together at different points throughout the year, and we talk about the financial issues that the group wants to focus on at that point. So we've talked about debt, we've talked about budgeting, we've talked about retirement, we've played the cash flow game. And that's what it is, essentially women getting together to support each other in their financial goals. There are a group of us who are interested in real estate, so we branched off and started a real estate investing group. So it just really depends on what your common goals are. And get together, it could be, you can start one with your girlfriends, you can start one with just women in the area. I love meetup.com. I absolutely love them, because anything that I kind of want to get into in the area, within 50 miles, someone's doing it. And so I can always join a meetup group to pursue that interest in finances and women. It's huge for a lot of women, because no one really wants to talk about the fears that they have associated with it.
No, I think that sounds cool. I mean, I'm a real estate agent, and I think of the planning for the future, and real estate I think is a great investment. Here in Toronto, our market is extremely strong, and people definitely can save for the future. It's like long-term investment opportunities that are here in Toronto, and I love when women, whether, women are the, often the decision makers when it comes to buying a home. So I love to hear that, people getting together, like what you're doing, and kind of synergizing when it comes to different ideas about money. So how do you guys decide on the topics, and then what do you guys share? Like, do each people, tell us how it works, like, in the nitty-gritty.
Well, what I usually do is send out a message to the group, and I give them a list of things that I think we should be talking about, and then they give me some feedback. So the people who are actually interested and available for the next meetup topic, we pretty much design what it's going to look like at that point. One of the things I've come to realize is that we're in the Washington, D.C. area, which is a high cost of living area. So it tends to, in terms of our spectrum, we have some very, high earners in our group who really want some more advanced support in terms of retirement. What are some things that some things that are going on with their 401k, how to make good decisions concerning that. Blended family finances, for instance, 2 high-income earners, child support's in the mix. How do we save for college? And then there are people who they just need to learn how to make a budget. They need to understand what are some of the barriers going on right now with why they're unable to spend wisely. And so we have meetups like that. So one of our next meetups will actually be makeup, moolah, and mimosas. And so we're going to have a makeup artist come out because, I'm a girl, I love makeup. And over mimosas and brunch, we're going to talk about some of our financial issues and pretty much what we're going to be doing to get there. So the topics haven't been nailed down concretely yet, but we're still working on it right now.
So do you present, or who leads the discussion, I guess?
It depends. Sometimes I will present, but I often like to have speakers come in and present to the group, because here's the thing, I'm on the journey with them, and so depending on what the topic is, I may share with them. For instance, my newest love is pocketsmith.com, because it just does everything I need it to do in terms of forecasting my money. So
Oh.
first, I'll do a presentation on that, and I'll say, hey, if you want to know how much money you'll have in your bank account 4 months from now on the fourth Friday in the month, Pocketsmith will tell you that based on your monthly expenses and what you expect to spend over the next 4 months. And so I'll do something like that. But if we're talking about, someone who wants to come in and discuss 401k-ish, 401k stuff, which I can't because I'm not a certified financial planner, then I'll have someone come in and do that for me.
I love this.
Me too.
I'm like, can we do this in Toronto?
I was just thinking the same thing. What would you suggest, Ginger, as far as, say we want to do this in Toronto, because I think Lori and I are both hot on ensuring that we have a very clear, sunny financial future, and there's stuff that we need to work on. So what would you...
Especially since we're entrepreneurs. Like, we don't get a paycheck every 2 weeks. Like
cash flow.
Yeah, cash flow. Like, sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? So, but
and then it's like, make it rain. And then it's like, whoa, where's that umbrella? Let me turn it upside down and get that money back, because that's the life of an entrepreneur. So, what do you suggest for a group?
Well, it depends. If you guys want to come together and put together a group for entrepreneurial women and the financial issues that you guys may be facing, such as cash flow issues, how do you budget when you don't have a check coming in every 2 weeks, for instance, right? How do you monetize whatever it is that you're trying to do? How do you make sure that, hey, if I create this product, then how am I going to monetize it, for instance? You can just offer up just to have support for women who are entrepreneurs and having cash flow issues, and then research different experts or just people who are able to speak about that in your area. Maybe not people who are saying, well, I'm a cash flow business expert, but maybe someone who's actually gone out, started a business, and had to live with irregular income for a while before things became more regular, and speak to how she did it. I find that when I have people come in who've actually done it, it's more relatable, rather than just someone who works for, say, Merrill Lynch coming in and talking about...
Or I have a system, and if you sign up for my system...
So, okay, so, I mean, you've shared already some great stuff that I'm like, I don't know, like, I wanted, when we were talking about doing this episode, I was like, we always like to bring on people who are doing awesome things, and I think that what you're doing is awesome. I have followed you on Twitter for the last little bit at least, and I just always remember seeing your name and I was like, this is just such a cool name, and you always had like really great tips, because obviously this is something that you are like, I love that you share this stuff, because I always remember you, and I'm always like, yeah, you know what, it's time that I take charge, stop wearing the blinders, which, I think that there's that. So one of the things you talked about before is having a plan. What is it that you advise people to do? Like, it is 2014. A lot of people, at the beginning of 2015, they're going to make a New Year's resolution, whether it's, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to, save my money. And I think right now is an excellent time for people to start planning for the new year instead of waiting, like, literally until the 31st.
Yeah.
So what is it that you plan? Like, what is it that you advise in terms of a plan? Like, people, how do they get started in planning for financial success if they want to do it today?
Well, think about where would you like to be in 1 year, for instance. I know that for me it was becoming debt-free finally, right? But I have 6-figure student loans, so being debt-free is going to take a little while for me, because the government here, let me speak to my situation. So, for instance, I do have 6-figure student loans. I went to grad school, got 2 graduate degrees, but because of my field in the government programs, I'm able to work where I work right now, and the government will actually forgive those loans in about 10 years based on what I'm paying today. So that's why I'm not going to be completely debt-free for another 10 years at least, unless I decide to work over a chunk of money. Give that to the government, which I probably won't do. I had to sort of take a look at where my financial situation is right now. I wanted to get out of debt, so I said to myself, in a year I want to be debt-free, right, in terms of my consumer debt. Made a plan. I got on to Pocketsmith, and I took a look at all of my income, all of my expenses, and just even the random things like vacations, groceries, gas, things like that. Plugged it in and was able to see, well, I'm actually going to have X amount of dollars, in a few weeks. I'm going to chunk away this debt right here. And so that's what I've essentially been doing, is just chunking away different balances that I've had come up. So I think it starts with a plan and understanding where you want to be in 3, 6, 9, 12 months from now, and then working towards it. I do recommend that people start over, and so no, they probably shouldn't be waiting until December 31st, but maybe they plan for December 31st. Do they want to know what's the total amount owed? Maybe you should know that by December 31st. Maybe you should come up with a plan by December 31st so that January 1st you don't feel totally overwhelmed with, oh my God, I need to make this huge change. What am I going to do? Start on it today. Call the debt collectors, call the credit card companies, and figure out, where am I? What do I owe you? How many months am I behind? Do you have an emergency fund? What can you cut back in terms of living expenses to help save money? If you're saving money and you're not taking the money that you saved and putting it in a separate account, then you're not actually saving money. You're still spending the money.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
What when it comes to people trying to find extra money to pay debt, what do you advise people? I mean, yes, you can cut back and maybe on your cell phone bill, your cable bill, maybe you don't shop or maybe you don't go out to eat as much, but sometimes it's just like you're not bringing in enough income. So do you advise people to give up the fun side? Because we talked about the show is you don't want to be miserable in your debt. You want to still be able to enjoy life. Is it go out and get a new job or get a part-time job, find something at home to do that you can monetize? What is it that you suggest?
It boils down to hustling. I think if it's something that you really want, you're either going to get a part-time job, a second job, or create what we call a side hustle, for instance. So, for instance, I have this blog. It makes me money on the side, but I feel like I've been doing that forever, so it's like a job now. It's not so much a side hustle anymore. I recently started a private practice, and so for me, that's like a side hustle, right? So people think I have like 50 million jobs, but that's really what I do. I have a private practice that I do on the side, and so that helps me funnel money towards my debt. So when people say, well, I don't have enough, with the folks I've actually worked with in private practice with this stuff, it's not that they don't make enough, they're spending too much. And I'll be honest, some people are just lazy. They just want to come home at 4 p.m. and go to sleep at 8 or 9, when you could use your first 8 hours to go to your first job, use your second 8 or 6 hours to go to a second job, and use that money to pay down debt, build the emergency fund, and do what you need to do. But it does require sacrifice, though I don't recommend that you totally cut every single thing out, because it's sort of like being on a low-carb diet for 1 year. At some point, you're going to binge on the candy and the sweets and the bread, right? So you sort of need to pace yourself. What I typically do is, with each financial goal that I accomplish, there's a treat attached to it, for instance. So if I make it a plan to sort of, do my own manicures and pedicures for 3 months, if I pay off an account within those 3 months, I'm probably going to go out and treat myself to, a shopping spree of $200 or something like that. It just depends on how you want to pace yourself and reward yourself. I tend to be a carrot stick person. If you tell me at the end of this period, if I do this, I'm going to get this, I'm going to work towards it and get to it. Whereas some people, they want the rewards sporadically. I just want to get to the goal, feel good about achieving it, and then reward myself afterwards.
I love that, and I love the whole side hustle thing. And anybody who is interested in developing their side hustle, a friend of Lori and I's, Siobhan John, she has an event actually happening tomorrow, but for most people who are seeing this a year from now, because your advice, which is great, is timeless. But if you are interested in a side hustle, check out secretsofasideHustler.com. She's going to be sharing tips and ways that people can find out what their side hustle is and how to do it. And she's having an event tomorrow that I'll be speaking at, and just or on Thursday that I'll be speaking at, and just how I kind of transferred over, and I did that side hustle thing for a long time while having a full-time job, and use some of that money to be able to launch myself full-time, and that's what a lot of people are doing. But I think it's important to have a plan, and I love that everything that you talked about, Ginger, was all rooted in planning. It was, and then I love the fact that you have the reward, that little milestone, because I think I work the same way. I need that little, well, what am I going to get if I do this? And it doesn't have to be anything insane. You know, it could be something like, $200, or it could be like if you're doing your nails all by yourself and then you go out and you actually get a mani and a pedi, and that was your treat for achieving a particular goal. I think that's really important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, Ginger, what do you have to say? We were talking earlier about the holidays. What is the advice that you give people now? Because, I mean, it's September. We're middle of September. So, 3 months away, and then it's, there's Black Friday shopping, and then there's, for the people in the States, we don't have that here in Toronto. They try to do, it here in Toronto, but
it's not the same.
It's not the same. It doesn't work. Lots of people end up going to Buffalo to go and get, awesome deals, because, it's just not comparable. Yeah. But what advice do you have for people, like, right now? I remember me personally when I used to work at, I don't remember if it was the Gap. I used to buy like little presents for my family from like October, so that it wasn't like one big hit on the 24th. Mm-hmm. But what is it that you advise for, like, parents that are going to be buying their kids, like, these really awesome toys that are out there, or electronic gadgets, or your significant other, your extended family, your work friends? What is it that you have as advice, I guess, for that?
I start planning early, just in terms of knowing what my budget's going to be. So, for instance, on my budget calendar, I think I have, I think $500 for everyone, because it's Christmas, and I really don't tend to fall into the whole I need to get you a gift to show you that I love you at Christmas. Mm-hmm. I just think that I do that all throughout the year, and so I'll get my loved ones really nice gifts. Like, really, it's gonna be my mother, my brother, the boyfriend, and that's probably it in terms of huge gifts or just like significant gifts, because if I have to think about everyone and their children and their cousins and their mama, I can't do that. That's going to break my budget. And I love y'all, but I have financial goals to get to. And so if it means I'm going to be going into Black Friday sales to go and buy things I really don't need, I'm really not going to be buying you gifts, which will then throw me off my financial goals.
So how do you come up with that number? Like, you have the $500 as your magic number. How do people come up with that number, saying, like, this is what, this is the max?
It depends. I mean, it depends on what your budget looks like. Like, some people may only be able to say, well, I can probably, with my side hustle, with my bills and everything that I have to pay, come up with $250 or even just $100. You can get really creative by making some gifts actually at home. Buy a mason jar, get some sea salt, brown sugar, scented oils, and put them together in a mason jar and send it out to people and say, hey, here's a really cute salt scrub, and that costs $5 for a bottle to make, right? Mm-hmm. I think in terms of a number, again, to thine old self be true, you have to figure out what it is that you can actually spare and go from there. I have no problem hurting people's feelings and saying, I'm sorry, you're not going to get a gift this year, and that's okay. Because if you don't, like, our relationship really shouldn't be based on whether or not I get you a gift at Christmas. So if it means that you get a $10 tie for me, or, I don't know, like sea salt scrubs that cost me $5, just know that I love you all the same, but I have goals that I need to get to. I just try not to get caught up in the whole, you better get me a gift or else we're not going to do that. So.
I love that. I love that you're so unapologetic about it, and that you let people know. But I think also, you're also, like, if you're going to dance around like, ooh, I can't get this person a gift because I can't afford to be buying, like, her something, him, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. I love that you say, like, listen, this is it. This is about my budget. This is about what I can afford. I have goals, and unfortunately, like, spending that extra money is going to be a detriment to where I'm going in my financial success. So I love that you keep it real, and you let people know, like, this is it, instead of dodging around. You're like, I'm not going to go hang out with this friend because I didn't buy a present, and if they buy me a present, it feels really uncomfortable, and that whole situation.
Yeah,
And I love that.
girlfriend who, I mean, we've exchanged gifts in the past, and there have been years where we haven't exchanged gifts. It doesn't change the bond of our friendship. It just means that, hey, maybe this was a tough year. I mean, I think one year she was going through some stuff. There was another year I got divorced. I was going through some stuff. So it really wasn't top of mind to get everyone, their mother, a gift. And so I think I'm just, it's just one thing that I try to take off my list, which is to feel guilty about not buying a bunch of gifts at Christmas. It's a trap. I just don't want to fall into it.
And I love the fact as well that it's about being honest with yourself and honest with your friends around you, because there's so much, we talked about it a little bit earlier, of trying to keep up with the Joneses. And even when you're a Jones, there's people trying to keep up with the other Joneses. So that was my attempt at being funny. But anyway.
You were funny, Cher Jones. You were funny.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Lori Williamson. But
imagine if my name was Lori Jones.
That would be cool.
That'd be weird.
Really
You're like,
cool.
I know, like we're from the same family and stuff, and Jones is, that side of the family. But anyways.
Yeah. But what it's saying is that, especially with the whole keeping up with the Joneses conversation that we had, and like you look at keeping up with the Facebook conversations and what people are posting on and stuff like that, but being true to yourself, because after times it's the lies and it's the ignorance, it's like the financial ignorance of not wanting to recognize our own situations, not ready to come clean with our own finances and try to put the blinders on, as Lori was talking about. And it is something that I love how passionate you are about being unapologetic about your finances and saying, no, I can't afford that, and I'm not going to do that. I have financial goals, and I think we need to be more like that, because I know that it's a good model as well for our kids to hear when you say you can't afford it, and not buying things, and so they can have these real discussions as young people and grow up and be okay with not being able to afford something, because you're not always going to be able to afford it.
Yeah.
Cher, the funny thing is like, as you say that, I feel like you already say those things. Like, you are like very straight up when you'll be like, no, we're not going to do that because I don't want to spend the money on that.
Yeah, I'm trying to get there. I wasn't always there. I think it's a progression. It's a maturity thing, I think, as well, and it's a reality thing. I'm just, especially, this is I'm almost at the 1.5 year mark of being self-employed, and I can't mess around with my finances, because again, that cash flow, 1 minute's make it rain, and the next minute's like, whoa, give me that rain back. We got to collect it to bathe. So. So yeah, I mean, I have to be more conscious, and I need to have a better plan. And I was so excited to have you on, because I really do need to be intentional with planning, because it's easy to put those blinders on just for a second when you just don't feel like dealing with that particular reality at the time. But and just being intentional and having these conversations, having these real talk conversations about debt, about finances, and goals is important. So yeah.
Well, no, but what I was saying to you about it, Cher, was I just think that you are really good with being like you'll say, like, you'll just be like, no, I don't want to spend, like, I don't know how to explain it, but you're unapologetic when you do not want to start being like, oh, I don't want to spend money, I don't want to invest in that particular system, whether you have the money or not. I feel like, me personally, I feel like skittish if, like, I feel uncomfortable if I can't buy someone a Christmas present.
Yeah, you do.
I do.
Yeah,
like,
you do, and you totally need to get over that.
Yeah, like, you'll straight up say, like, no, I'm not doing that. I don't want to do that. And, like, you're just straight up with it. You're unapologetic. Me, I'm like, oh my God, I feel really, really bad. And I'm like, I feel upset. Like, I know that there's been times where, like, some Christmases, I'm like, funds are not quite there, and I'm like trying to. I love giving, for Christmas. I love, someone else being happy, especially people who never had a good Christmas. Because I just think that, like, Cher and I, we were always so fortunate growing up, having, like, really awesome Christmases from our families and stuff like that. So I always feel like anyone who didn't have that in their adult life, they should have that as well. But I think it's something, like, you're inspiring me to just be able to say straight up, like, if I have to say it.
Yeah. I mean, even so, just maybe you choose a select group of people that this year you've got to give them a gift. But again, if you know that you're working with $500 or $1,000, you make it work within. Instead of saying, well, I'm going to go to the mall and I hope I spend $500 when it's going to turn into $2,000. I think having a plan and saying, well, I'm going to give, Tom, Dick, Harry, Mary Jane, and Sue a gift, and these people will get, maybe they get a card and some other trinket, a token of appreciation for the love that you have for them throughout the year. But if you have goals in mind, you have to think, well, is it really important that I give every single person a really extravagant gift? And just having limits. I mean, I know I'd probably never spend $800-900 on shoes. I mean, you really probably couldn't pay me. I don't care if I was making $1 million or $2. I probably wouldn't do it, but that's a value system for me. You know what I mean? So it doesn't work for everyone else. So.
Oh, I agree with you. I wouldn't spend that money on shoes either. I'm not a shoe fan, so.
Me either. So.
See, Lori and I, we are like the equivalent to TJ Maxx in Canada is Winners or Marshalls. So we love a Winners and a Marshalls and trying to find the deals on great gear. So that's where we kind of hang out.
And Cher loves shoes. Like, Cher is like, she'll do her talks and stuff like that, and she'll be wearing like some electric blue shoes. She'll be wearing some like ruby red shoes, and she always has her heels on. Me, I'm like in like the worst shoes like Cher hates. I wear Uggs. I wear Birkenstocks. I wear like flats. And she'll be like, "Are you gonna buy that shoe when I'm like there?" And I'll be like, "Yes." And I'm like, "They're practical."
Yes, that's me.
Inexpensive.
Yeah. Like I have like those special occasion shoes, but I'm so practical that I just need like 3 pair of shoes that I'm going to wear all the time to work. Or like I have like Crocs, these flip-flops that I'll wear throughout the summer with everything. And I know people hate it, but it's just comfortable. And I refuse. Like, I am not going to buy a pair of shoes for an outfit or for every single outfit. I'm just not going to do it. So
listen, I agree with you 100%. I get it, but I will give it to Cher. Her shoe game is on point. So
I heard Crocs, and we did a video series on how to do great hangouts, and I think one of them was don't insult the guests. So I'm just like being quiet. Don't insult the guests.
No,
don't say anything about the girls' Crocs.
I know people hate them, but they're like regular black. They look like regular flip-flops, but like I wear them all the time. But it's really difficult because I can't really. If I get a new outfit, I'm like, well, do I need to go buy new shoes? I can just wear some heels that I have at home with it. But then I hear my coworkers say, well, I have to go out and buy a new pair of shoes because I just got 4 new outfits. They're gonna go buy 4 to 6 pair of shoes just to go with those outfits. I'm like, I can't.
Here's the thing. This is what you do, ladies, everyone. Okay? You save money once you get solid pairs of shoes. You get a pair of black stilettos, tan stilettos, navy blue, and red, and you're good to go. You have everything you need.
I have those. Yep, I have those.
I challenge you then to get rid of all the other shoes that you have if you just work.
That would be wasting money.
Then I guess I'm going to need the navy blue and the red shoes. I have you know what? I need all 4 because my shoe game is not on point.
Yes, you do.
Yes. Thank you. So, Ginger, when it comes to, where you kind of see your blog going, what's your forward vision for this blog? What is it that you would like to see happen with your blog?
I mean, I'd love to take the blog from just being a blog right now and a meetup into just kind of being a media company where we're producing seminars, where we're having meetups all over the country. And also, one of the goals I have is to create like an email series to produce ebooks, and even to have hangouts like this with women it can be like a digital support group for women. If they have questions, they can log on, ask questions about their finances with hopefully a certified financial planner or just even a financial coach that can sort of answer some of their toughest questions. So that's where I see the blog going.
Love that. So we are coming down to the end of the show. Let's see. Do we have any questions? There's one thing. I don't know if you guys saw this. Did you guys watch Oprah? No, Iyanla Fix My Life?
Yeah, I was just watching her. Yeah.
Did you watch the guy with the 17 kids? No, 34 kids.
I saw the preview for it. I didn't see all of it.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, 34 kids. So what I want to do is I want people to know where they can go and check you out socially. And if they have questions, how do they reach out to you for you to give them, advice and stuff like that?
They can actually shoot me an email. It's easier to get me an email, ginger@girlsjustwannahavefun.com. They can shoot a question via Twitter. I'm at Ginger Latte. That's GingerLatte. If they have a question, they can also post it on the Facebook page, which is Girls Just Want to Have Funds, FUNDS.
And if you can't answer a question, do you have someone else weigh in on the answer for you? Is that how you kind of do it?
Yeah, if it's a question that's more related to like stocks, investing, things like that, I tend to rely on some other people who are certified in that area to be able to answer that question.
What is your biggest tip that you can give for someone when it comes to future planning, when it comes to the best investment choices that they can make, I guess for retirement, saving for their future?
Well, that's like that's like advice I can't get into because I'm not a financial planner.
Okay, I understand.
Stocks and stuff like that, I can't.
Oh, is that what that's considered?
Yeah, like so if I'm going to talk about like picking the best investment options, vehicles, and things like that, yeah, that's where I'd have to sort of draw the line because it goes into financial advice, and that's an area that they're certified to give advice in, and I'm not.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So if you were to give one piece of advice, and it's going to pretty much wrap up what we talked about today, but if you were to wrap up your advice in 1 to 2 sentences, someone's in debt and they need to get their ish together, how do they take that first step?
They're going to look at where they want to be. What's their ultimate goal and work backwards. So, for instance, if they're in debt and I want to be debt-free, what are the steps that I need to take to become debt-free? I need to know how much I owe. How do I find out how much I owe? I need to call all of my creditors to figure that out. Then I need to figure out what do I need to do in order to become current if I'm, past due or anything like that. Get the amounts, get the dates, and then start there. There's something called the snowball method, where you take, for instance, you chip away at the smallest debt, or it just depends on it could be the smallest debt, the debt with the highest interest rate. You can also look it up online for your viewers that are watching right now. For instance, let's just say your first balance is about $1,000 and you're paying $75 a month towards that. Once you've knocked that balance out, the $75 that you're now going to be that you were using to pay that debt off, you're going to be taking that to the next balance. If the next balance is, say, $2,000, you're going to be applying the monthly payment that you're paying towards the $2,000 and the $75 to knock that out. Now, let's just say that $2,000 debt had a $150 monthly payment attached to it. You're going to now take the $150 plus the $75 and attach it to the next debt. So that's what we call snowballing the debt until it's completely gone.
Oh, that's an awesome tip. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect way to end the show.
Absolutely. We want to say thank you so much for joining us the last hour. You have definitely had my mind going with tons of different things, so I'm happy you came on. I mean, here in Canada, we don't have like 401ks and stuff like that. We have different things, so different kind of avenues for people to take when it comes to their future and stuff like that. But I think this is a conversation that more people need to be having with themselves and with their loved ones, and maybe joining or creating a support group that you have created, going to sites like Girls Just Want to Have Funds as a way to really kind of not be ignorant to the way money works. I think most people kind of, as we know, we've said it, they operate with blinders. They'll be like, I never understand money, but obviously people who are successful, who understand how money works, interest, debt, all that kind of stuff, once you kind of are aware of what you need to do in order to, it could be more stress-free living, really, at the end of the day, and it's having a good life and enjoying life. So just want to say thank you so much for coming on the Lori and Cher show, because great advice tonight, so thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Nice. So, Cher, let's talk about next week on this show. We're excited because you've probably seen this video on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter, and it's called Why I Think the World Should End. We have this awesome guy who's coming on by the name of Richard Williams. He is a rapper and an activist, or otherwise known as Prince Iya. We'll be hacking into his awesomeness next week on the show, so make sure you tune in next week, Tuesday live, if you're watching live, next week Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. Yeah.
And of course, you guys, if you made it to the end, you got to make sure you are subscribed to the channel. So hit that subscribe button, love what you saw, tap that like button, let us know. And of course, if you're on Facebook, remember to give us a shout out. And of course, if you missed last week's show, we had an awesome episode with Tommy Europe, and we talked about the bum cup and getting that perfect bum cup. You'll know what I'm talking about if you watch this episode. So just click on the live link right now that's on your screen, and of course, you can check out some extra content and the replay of this show on BuyBlacks.com. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and we'll see you on our next episode. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.